Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the final event of the From Biodiversity Data to Decisions, Enhancing Natural Value Through Improved Regional Development Policies. This is an event followed by internet because, unfortunately, as you know, we are in a pandemic situation. So this was thought to be in June and in the presence of the people, but unfortunately is through internet. But we hope and we acknowledge that everybody is well connected. I think that we have more than 100 people now following the session. So let's have a look to who are we to know which one. And we will show some first slides. First one, I would like to show who are following now the session. 147 attendants have been inscribed, and then from all the regions. I remind you that we have 7 regions follow-up participants of this meeting and this project. BIDREX is the short name of the project, and they are from Catalonia, the host. Then this is the 31%. Then we have the Basque country, that is in red. We have 8.8% of participants. We have people from Norfolk, United Kingdom, from the Marche region in Italy, from Ljubljana and Marsh in Slovenia. We have people from North Great Plain region from Hungary, from Wallonia in Belgium, and there are people from other places that they don't participate in the project, but they are interested in following this session. Okay, next slide. We can see if the people that have been inscribed, they know the project. So yeah, in blue we can see yes, I have been involved in the project, so they are the participants. Then in red we have yes, but I have not been involved in the project, and no, people that don't know the project and they are inscribed just to know how it works. So first of all, I would like to present you the program, the first part of the program, and remind you that this is the hashtag that you can write for the Twitter or the Instagram, BIDREXFinal, okay? BIDREXFinal, and all the hashtag, all the commentaries can follow this hashtag. First of all, I would like to show you the program that we will follow. This program has this presentation, and then we have, I don't know if we can see in the screen the program. First of all, we have the presentation of acknowledgements and introduction from and the host of the final event. I don't know if this is too small, but I will translate for you. Then we will have some short presentations from technicians that are involved in the project. EU Biodiversity Strategy 2030, and then the impact of the Interreg Europe program. And then we will see a video, the summary of the project, and then a pause. And we will see the program after the pause. The pause is around 11:10, and from 11:10 to 11:20. Okay. So first of all, I will present you the lead partner, that is Mr. Antoni Trasobares, Director of Forest Science and Technology Center of Catalonia. He is the lead partner. And then we have Mrs. Marta Subira. She is the host of final event, and she's the Secretary of Environmental and Sustainability, Government of Catalonia. So please.
Hello, good morning to everyone. Welcome here in Catalonia, even if virtually. First of all, I would like to say that for CTFC, it is a pleasure that we could support the Department of Environment and Territory here in Catalonia as coordinating team to develop this project. And as well, we could interact with all the administrations and all research centers which have been involved in this project. And this is a pleasure to be here with you today for this final meeting. I believe it is important to think what is the mission? What is the mission of an institution like CTFC? And the first component of the mission is to do research and to generate high quality, sound knowledge about science, about natural resources, in this case, about biodiversity. But the second component of this mission is to provide tools which can be used into practice by the administration, by private managers, by society in general, so that we can take care of the environment, of the natural capital in the right way. And in this project, I think the implementation, the context was very well designed. So the data about biodiversity, biodiversity as such, we can believe it's a quite diverse, it's a complex thing, though we can also think about that in an essential basic way. But having the information, that research, that all databases about biodiversity is available, having it in a well-structured manner, and so that we can bring it to different levels of resolution and help regional governments to have knowledge there available in the right way, so that they can support the decisions and policies for good management of natural capital. It is essential. I think this was well done and in a very interesting way in this project. Secondly, I would like to mention about the current context. As you know, we are in these pandemics, but as well, I think in Europe, a very interesting project has emerged, Green Deal, which is based on this really taking it seriously to become neutral in this period 2030 towards 2050. And as well, this Green Deal, one of the main aims is to design a new type of economy, an economy that really takes seriously natural capital and welfare and health of people. And to do that, one of the two main pillars is biodiversity. Biodiversity, as well, of course, role that forests and natural resources play in carbon sequestration, other environmental services, and a project which helps to organize data in this way. And as well, as I mentioned in the beginning, this link between knowledge, science, research, and administrations at different levels, regional, state, and then the EU level, I think it is essential. And that's the main idea I wanted to tell you today, that staying close, both science, society, and politicians and governments, I think is the right way and one of the pillars for the right implementation of this ambitious Green Deal project. I hope this idea of this project will not finish during the span of the project development, which is supposed to finish now in 21, but it will continue all the network, and who knows, we may work to have a second stage, a new project, which is the second part of this very interesting BitRex project. So from my side, not much more. So I'll give you the word, and to my colleague, Marta Subira, she's the Secretary of Environment Sustainability. A pleasure to be here with her today.
Thank you very much, Antoni. Good morning and welcome to the 9 partners from the 7 European regions that have been involved in the project since April 2016, the local stakeholders who have taken part in each of the regions, and the interested public at large, as we have seen that there are many, many people that was not involved in the project but that are following this session. I hope this event finds you well and healthy. Today, it is a sad day for Catalans and for Democrats all over Europe. Once again, as in the last years, we continue to see our civil rights and the most important democratic values being attacked. This time, the president of our government, the president of Catalonia, has been removed simply for hanging a banner saying free political prisoners. And that is something that we find absolutely unacceptable. Despite this issue, life continues, and I must say that I am happy that this event takes place in Barcelona, although we could not physically meet here. I am very satisfied on Catalonia participation in the project. It has helped us a great deal in finding solutions to the problem of managing information on biodiversity. I would like to emphasize the importance of having an action plan as part of the project. This has allowed us to analyze the initial situation and to establish a clear roadmap for dealing with 2 key aspects of the project in Catalonia: improving the use of information in decision-making and displaying greater potential of ERDF funds for undertaking projects associated with biodiversity conservation. And as part of the action plan, and as the most significant measure taken to date, I should highlight the creation of the Observatory of Natural Heritage. The observatory should act as a tool with which to obtain better information and knowledge about our natural heritage and to help in establishing better public policies. We are already working to make that a reality. We are absolutely committed to continue developing, insofar as possible, the measures envisaged in the action plan generated as part of the project and that as yet have not materialized. I would also like to emphasize the importance of interregional cooperation with a view to establishing inspiring solutions to the problems raised. In this regard, the project has enabled us to observe how other places in Europe solve problems that are similar to those we have here. I would also like to underline that within Catalonia, the project has helped us to create and to strengthen a network of people and institutions, the local stakeholders group, featuring administrations, research centers, and non-governmental institutions that work with and need good information on the natural environment. In Catalonia, we are interested in future interregional collaboration with the project partners and in the long-term maintenance of the synergies created with local stakeholders. Let me finish by thanking you all once again for your work and commitment. I hope that you all enjoy today's sessions and that we can continue working together in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentations. Now we will start with our first guest today with Mrs. Ann Teller. I don't know if we can see her. She is senior expert of European Commission DG Environment. She has been working as a policy officer at Interreg Europe since 2015. With a background in rural development, she is involved in following the program activities linked to Axis 4, Environment and Resource Efficiency. She has been following the BitREX project since its beginning in 2015. So when you are able, you can start. Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, I can say that I'm very pleased to be with you, even if I'm not physically with you today. And I will try to present in a few minutes the biodiversity strategy, which was adopted last May, and the follow-up, and make some reference also to the discussions which take place at global level, because everybody influence to what's going on at EU level, and at regional level as well, so at all levels. Okay, so next slide, please. As you know, the European Green Deal was adopted by the new president of the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, a year ago, and it's quite an ambitious deal. And in this Green Deal, she is announcing different initiatives, including the EU Biodiversity Strategy for 2030. I mean, the climate, everybody knows. There is also From Farm to Fork, which is a mixture between agriculture, food, and nature. And then you have circular economy, zero pollution, and so on and so forth. But let's focus on the biodiversity strategy. Next slide, please. So, I don't want to remind you that we are in big trouble as far as biodiversity is concerned. The IPMES, the assessment, the global assessment of the Intergovernmental Platform for Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, released a very important assessment in 2019, and there we showing with a lot of facts and figures backed up from hundreds of scientific peer-reviewed articles that the drivers, the direct drivers, the pressures on biodiversity have increased for decades, and they are due to indirect drivers, which are related to human activities, to our socio-economic model, and therefore it's really urgent to reverse the trend if we want to survive on this planet. So this goal was quite mediatic, I would say, and had a big impact on the political level, especially at EU level, and that's why it was part of the Green Deal of Ursula von der Leyen together with climate. Next slide, please. So I don't need either to remind you of this wedding cake of Rockström, who showcase in a very easy manner that all the sustainable development goals are not at equal level, because they all strongly depend on our natural capital, our planet. So without having enough resources and living conditions which are suitable for human beings, we wouldn't have social and economic development. So therefore, it's not just a luxury to take care of biodiversity, but it's really essential to survive. Next slide, please. So now, why did we issue this strategy in 2020? First, because the previous strategy, the current strategy in fact, was a strategy to 2020, so that means it's finishing at the end of this year. We are working on a final evaluation of implementation, and no surprise, the picture is not great. I mean, biodiversity is still being lost at quite important rate, especially outside protected areas, and we really we see a lot of very relevant initiatives taking place at local level, but these need to be really upscaled to a critical mass if we want to make a difference globally. The recovery plan was adopted recently because of the COVID crisis. It releases 750 billion up to 2058, and the objective of the new Commission is to use this loan to start the transformative change, which are really necessary if we want this planet to be healthy and to continue to provide all the services on which we strongly rely. So we really need now to make a big change to our socio-economic model. And we are also discussing at global level with all countries of the world except US the next global strategic plan, which will be adopted normally in the last quarter of next year. We hope so. It was meant to be in October this year, but because of COVID, it was postponed for a year. And there will be, for the first time ever, 3 conferences of the parties of the 3 Rio conventions at the same time. So biodiversity, land degradation, and climate change. So it's a unique opportunity to integrate all these issues together. Next slide, please. So yes, so we are not starting from scratch. We had all the information on what was done in the last decade. We also launched during that decade important initiatives like the green and blue infrastructure, which is now being reinforced in the new strategy. We have the state of nature. We launched the EU pollinators initiative, which is attracting a lot of political attention and is related to many different issues, pesticides used in agriculture, health, quality of food, and so on and so forth. So next slide, please. So the strategy, the new biodiversity strategy, is in fact structured around 4 main elements. The first one, no surprise, is about nature protection. We still need to protect what is left in Europe, so and have the protected areas upscale to 30% of the EU territory. That means that we need to connect better the protected areas to ensure some functionality and also some corridors for adaptation due to climate change. We need also to manage and resource these properly. The second big pillar is about restoration. Restoration is really the main pillar of this strategy. It's about restoring everywhere. So it's not only about protected areas, it's about agriculture, it's about cities, it's about wherever we can improve the health of our ecosystems in order also to deliver important services that nature delivers for free, like flood protection, pollination, or carbon sequestration, just to cite a few. So that will be a very important element of the next strategy. And then, as I said, we have also the enablers. We need to enable the transformative change. And there as well, I'll come back to it in a minute, there will be important initiatives, especially in relation to this project. And finally, we have to profile the EU role in the global agenda and make sure that we adopt an ambitious global agenda next year. Next slide, please. So, about nature protection, as I said, we have the objective to protect 30% of EU land and sea. You see, it's quite a challenge. This 30% objective has been adopted by other countries of the world. Yesterday, there was a biodiversity summit at the United Nations, and there was a pledge for protecting 30% of the land on the planet, and many heads of state and government took the floor to sign for it. So there is hope that there will be ambition, not only at EU level, but also at global level. And as I said, it's not only about having more protected area, it's also about integrating corridors to allow species and habitat to change, especially to move, especially in the context of the increasing impact of climate change. There is a 10% target of strictly protected areas. So within the protected areas, we would like to have 10% left kept without much human activity, apart from management of these sites, to allow for having buffer zones for climate change and resilience. We also want to protect all those forests in Europe, because we have very few primary and all those forests left, I think less than 3%, and so we really need to make sure that they are not, that the land is not being changed. Next slide. Okay, restoration. I told you this is a very important agenda for the next strategy. We are working on whether we will need legally binding restoration targets for the member states, and we will make a proposal next year. We don't want to deteriorate what is in there. We also have a 30% organic agriculture target, so applying the agroecological principles to have a more biodiversity friendly agriculture and also forestry. We want landscape feature to have at least 10%, so hedgerows, trees, ponds, all the elements of the landscape which are really key for biodiversity and have often been destroyed. We want to reduce the use and risk of pesticides by 50%, from fertilizers also by 50%, and to plant 3 billion trees in Europe to increase carbon sequestration and also to increase connectivity of within protected areas. We want to reverse the decline of pollinators. I don't need to refer to the important German study which showed that we lost so many pollinators. Next slide, please. And then we also want to restore contaminated soil sites. We haven't defined where and how much yet, but there is a whole initiative on soil being started to restore 25,000 of free-flowing rivers, so to defragment the rivers in Europe. Urban ecosystems, cities have a key role to play in being more green and also have less invasive alien species, because there is the first EU ecosystem assessment which will be delivered on the 21st of October at the Green Week, is showing that cities are a big vector of invasive alien species, so we need to work on that as well, and we also need to work on the sea. Next slide. The third pillar is very relevant for the work of this group and the Interact project, because it's about the enablers. The enablers, I put in red the governance framework, because it's about having a new governance for the EU Biodiversity Strategy, which would involve stakeholders at all levels, and have developed ownership of the different commitments and also accountability, so that everybody basically will have to be accountable for the progress done on the different targets, because we can all do something for biodiversity and therefore help making the case collectively at EU or even global level. So we want to track progress very dynamically and strongly, and so part of this governance framework has a monitoring framework to be developed this year, and this monitoring framework will propose a set of headline indicators that the member states will have to report on regularly, so that we can track progress on the different commitments. And science will also play a bigger role in the future, because under Horizon Europe, it's foreseen that science will then make regular gap reports, so-called gap report, and assess whether or not we are on track, and if not, why not, and what should be done to reverse the trend. We call it ratchet up, which is an awful term, if you ask me, being a French-speaking person, but it means really to make the commitments, to revise the commitments in the course of the 10 years, to avoid being in 2030 and having to say once again that we didn't reach our targets. Finance is key, that's for sure. I said before, there are unprecedented financing means, financing loans made available for really changing our way of working. Business is playing a lot of the role. There are some business leaders who also want to be part of the commitments and be accountable for these commitments. Knowledge education, and also the promotion of nature-based solutions at all levels, both for biodiversity and for climate change. It's the theme, the common theme between the conference of the parties next year, between the three different UN conventions, biodiversity conventions to combat desertification, and the framework convention on climate change. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. So I said in parallel we are discussing with the member state, but also with the other countries of the world to have an ambitious global agenda. We are using our green diplomacy network. We would like to make progress on ocean governance, trade, because the EU has a huge footprint on the rest of the world, and we need to assess our impact along the whole value chain. We are developing indicators to track that. And we also need to reinforce international cooperation, especially on monitoring of implementation, because that's an element where many countries of the world are lacking capacity. Next slide. I'm nearly reaching the end. Yes, so the next steps. Now we are implementing the strategy. We have listed more than 100 commitments in the text of the strategy, and we have listed them. We have identified who is leading on each commitment, especially within the Commission, but also with the Member States. We are awaiting the reaction from the European Parliament, the Council, the Committee of the Region, and the Social and Economic Committee. The Council are very near the adoption of Council conclusions. We had very many meetings with the Council recently. And then, as I said, there is the General Assembly of the United Nations on the 30th of September, and on the 28th there was a dedicated biodiversity summit with a lot of pledges made by heads of state, and the willingness to take biodiversity at the same level as climate change. The Conference of the Parties under the Convention is foreseen for the last quarter of 2021 in Kunming in China. Next slide, please. Yes, so I'm just giving you the web link where you can find more details about what we are doing. We are now looking very much at Commission level to see who is doing what, who is responsible for what commitment, and how to monitor these commitments. We will soon discuss that with the Member States. There is a coordination group for biodiversity in nature. There will be a meeting at the end of November, and we will discuss with them how to follow the implementation of the strategy, especially to adopt a small set of headline indicators to be reported regularly by the Member States, and also at different levels. I forgot to say that at international level, there is a very strong initiative from the subnational and the cities level, and they are reaching more and more cities and regional governments with ambitious targets. For instance, California is a very active member, despite the fact that the US is not a party of the convention. So that's very, very nice to see that there is a lot of enthusiasm and ambition at local level. Thank you. With this, I will now have a look at the questions, because I couldn't do that while I was making the presentation.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Teller, for your interesting talk. We have some questions, and now I just profit to invite the rest of the audience to make questions that then we can ask both to you and to the next speaker. So our first question should be regarding the information for nature conservation. Could you explain us how the biodiversity information provided by member states is used to assess the EU strategies?
How the information, okay, so can you repeat, because the sound was bad for minutes, just
Nature conservation. Could you explain us how biodiversity information provided by member states is used to assess the EU strategies?
Yeah, so we collect information on different elements. the state of nature, that's an important source of information, but it's an assessment made every 6 years. So it's not, I mean, it's an assessment of the state, but the strategy to 2030 is an action plan. So that means that from now to 2030, we will track progress on the actions. And this is where we are developing now this monitoring framework, and we are looking at indicators which are following trends. Now for that, we have the ecosystem assessment. I mean, it would be interesting for you to be aware of it when it's officially released on the 21st of October, because there we assessed the whole territory of the European Union, so also what is not covered by any environmental legislation. We use proxies, especially pressure indicators, to assess whether or not they were in a good state, and of course the picture is not very nice, especially agroecosystems are doing bad, but also forest plantations, and cities are not doing so bad, but it's always the buffer zones which are the difficult areas, because usually, cities or infrastructure expands, and they expand at the cost of nature or landscape features which are very important for biodiversity. So we are developing a set of indicators. I guess it will be around 40 indicators that we will discuss with the member states in November, and we will assess progress on that. We try to streamline as much as possible the set of indicators with the other policy areas, like on the pressure of pollution on ecosystems. We are discussing with the colleagues dealing with the Zero Pollution Initiative, so that we use the same indicators for zero pollution or for biodiversity for the same issues. So we are also discussing with DG Agri on the indicators for assessing the impact of agriculture on biodiversity, the landscape features, especially using Copernicus. So all this information will be used to assess the progress on trying to reverse the pressures, and then in 6 years or so we will see whether it is delivering on the state of nature and biodiversity. So it's an integrated framework, and I forgot to say that the intention is to have even a smaller set for environment policy under the 8th Environment Action Programme, and the smaller set will then be profiled in the semester, which is being looked at by Finance Minister every 6 months, and recovery plans, so which is looked at by heads of states. So we want to have a small integrated set for the environment, and biodiversity will be a big part of it, to also feed the discussions on the socio-economic issues. Thank you.
For your answer, thank you very much. We have 2 minutes left for other questions coming from the audience. One of them is, how is United Europe, EU moving the biodiversity strategy forward by integrating these objectives within other sectoral policies, energy, agriculture, and how is this promoted from the EU to be followed up at the national, regional, and local level?
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of the Green Deal, is that it was really an attempt to have more integrated policies at EU level between energy, agriculture, and others. All the commitments were agreed by all services of the Commission, which means that there is ownership from all sectoral policies of the Commission, and it will be tracked at the level of the Green Deal through a set of indicators, as I said, and for biodiversity in particular, we will ask member states, but as part of the new governance framework that I was referring to, we also want to involve the subnational level and the stakeholders like business, because we believe that it's very important to monitor the progress or lack of progress at all levels. Thank you.
Very much.